of the prequel trilogy. Of the sequel trilogy,
I mean, there's only 3 movies, right? So you don't. I mean, your answer doesn't have to be final. Don't get me wrong. I'm just if you make a case for whichever your favorite is in relation to this one, or however you want to do it. But just give me a sort of an idea of how the Rise of Skywalker is right now for you within its own trilogy.
I like the Rise of Skywalker better than The Last Jedi. I definitively do like it better.
Okay.
When it comes to debating between The Force Awakens and The Rise of Skywalker, I find myself going back and forth on that. I really do. Mm-hmm. I think ultimately where I'm going to fall on it is I enjoy The Rise of Skywalker more on watching, but The Force Awakens is a better movie. That's where I think I'm going to land on that.
Okay.
It's a different thing, right? Which one of these things I can enjoy watching these moments forever, right? Just do boom, 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 boom. That's what the Rise of Skywalker kind of feels like to me. But The Force Awakens opens up a narrative world that left a lot to be played with at the end of it, right? It was one cohesive story, and it didn't have the expectations of the previous movie to tell you what it was. It just told it was what it was, and that was good. It was executed well. It's an homage before it became played out, right? Rise of Skywalker, it gets a little played out.
Yeah. So, okay, let me give you my thoughts on it real quick. We're just talking about within the sequel trilogy right now. I think that we've all discussed this together. My thing about these 3 movies is this: I think each of them as their own movies are very well done. Despite whatever Disney-fied aspect of it there is, they're all 3 watchable, good movies as their own. The problem is, and I think everybody knows at this point, you've got the 2 directors, and they just fumbled the handoff, right? I like the Rise. I like the Last Jedi. I'm not one of those people that's just here to bash it. Now it's flawed, and let's be honest, that Canto Bight scene is really holding that movie back. That Canto Bight scene is just not going to stand the test of time. But The Force Awakens is probably the best movie in my opinion now, because at some point you just got to think about just the beginning and the end of it all. It felt more Star Wars like, in a sense of just the wonder and hope and all that stuff, but it wasn't too Disney. The Last Jedi, now you're talking about a movie that's darker. I really appreciated some of the ideas that Rian Johnson had. It's just that, man, when it came down to it, I can live with everything else, like you were saying, Jared. But that Canto Bight scene is just what makes that movie nearly unwatchable.
It's okay.
So let me finish this real quick. So the point is, though, The Rise of Skywalker, I like this movie. I watched it. I've now seen it 3 times. When it first started, it was moving at a lightning quick pace. I mean, I felt like I was strapped my seatbelt in. The DeLorean is taking off. You know what I mean? The second watch, it slows down a little bit. They're throwing 2 movies worth of material in one movie. But I thought everything was fine for the most part. It's just that they refused to make it dark enough. So I reserve judgment on where I have this, but I don't know if The Last Jedi ultimately is the worst movie in this franchise. That's the point that I'm actually trying to make here. Because I think a lot of people are now going to be comparing these 2 movies forever, because it looks like Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams are having like a silent battle here with ideas and concepts, and it plays in these last 2 movies.
I mean, it's just clear that there could not have been a solid narrative framework set up for each of the 3 movies. It's just clear. It's clear that each movie was an independent thing, So the third movie, as you watch it, it's very clear that in the first 30 minutes, it has to give you a movie's worth of plot to just let you know, in addition to what happened in the movie before, now there's also Palpatine. Right?
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
They give you a movie's worth of plot within the opening crawl. If you think about the opening crawl when you read it, and I don't know how spoilers we get.
No, we can be full spoilers. This movie's been out for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't seen this movie at this point, I gave you the spoiler.
Within the first paragraph, they tell you, boom, hey, the dead rise. The dead speak. There's a message being played across the galaxy that broadcasts the voice of the long thought deceased Emperor Palpatine. That boom, that's a whole. If that was where we were going, if that was where we were going, we could have hinted at that better in a second. If that was where we were going, but it's clear that wasn't initially where we were going, which is cool. But you know, within the first 20 minutes, they said, "Hey, dead speak, Ray's training. Kylo Ren is looking for this the Emperor." Boom, movie opens. Kylo Ren finds the Emperor. Right? Finds the holocron, or the wayfinder. Fucks off to the Emperor. Finds him, confronts him, finds this massive army of ships, this god-forsaken demon army of Imperial Star Destroyers with planet-ending capabilities.
You know, that's another thing too.
The ultimate MacGuffin. Star Wars just can't do that.
How can you have that many ships and have the men to run them? I mean, come on. You know what I mean? There's only. I know the galaxy is supposed to be, endless and all, but we're talking. I mean, how many Star Destroyers did you eyeball? I saw.
There had to be at least like 10,000.
It was a literal entire fleet of Star Destroyers.
It's ridiculous. You know, they're all operational. I have no idea how they work, how they're flying.
I have no idea how they were built. Because these stars, it's very clear that this planet is not an easy place to get to. And it's not a place that we can get supplies to. Right? Like, this is not a place that people are. And yet, we have enough with these Star Destroyers here.
And you're just fully functioning from being underground.
Like, fully functioning. How long have these things been here?
Man and crew.
This has been the plan the entire time. It's literally called the Final Order. The First Order and the Final Order. I don't know. You just let me know. We can talk about how is Palpatine still alive.
All right. So, and Jared, just to round that off, just kind of keep it short and sweet. How do you feel about The Rise of Skywalker as a movie within the sequel trilogy?
Well, compared to the other two, I would say definitively Force Awakens is probably the best movie overall, all things considered. Which one is my favorite? That's hard. I will say this. I saw all of them in theater, obviously. My favorite theater experience was Last Jedi. I'll be honest. Now, after going back and seeing these movies a second, third time and formulating opinions about that and listening to other people's opinions, my own opinion was subject to change. But as far as the first viewing, the first theater experience, IMAX, the whole 9 yards, the whole everything, I'm not gonna lie. When I walked out of Last Jedi, I was feeling okay. I was like, all right, that was all right. But to me, the most solid overall movie out of all three of them is The Force Awakens. I would probably say. Rise of Skywalker, when I left, I felt okay. I felt pretty good. And then when I just thought about it, I was like, man, that movie had a couple misfires in there, But
yeah, it's just it's flawed because they're just trying to do too much fan service. That's what happened with Game of Thrones. The last was it season 8 seasons. Yeah, man, like you just come on, guys. I don't need you to wrap it up in a bow for me. That's not what I'm asking. I'm just saying, if you're gonna choose a destination, let's just get there with as little turbulence as possible. That's all I'm asking. Granted, let's say this though. The one thing I will give them, they had to deal with Carrie Fisher's death. I don't know what the movie could have been like if that didn't happen, and that will always be a what if scenario. Yeah. I'm actually personally a little, don't hate me out there in the comments or anything, but I'm a little annoyed that she died. You can't help it, obviously. Rest in peace, Carrie Fisher. But I guess a part of me is because I know it's total fandom at this point. You're just like, man, Leia, you couldn't hold it down for the one last ride so we can get this thing, done. But what are you gonna do? They got back to these guys when they were in like their 60s and stuff. And Billy D, I just found out he's 82 years old. This guy's coming back to do Lando at 82. Yeah. Well, you know what they say, but.
I mean, it's crazy to think about, right? Like these movies have existed over such a long period of time. It's really like these characters you come to grow with for so long. Even the actors you come to grow with. So it's very just you can't help but imagine what that movie would look like, right? Mm-hmm. If they lived. I have plenty of theories about it. And even the way that they used her in this movie, it was tasteful, and you could tell it was as good as they could get.
Did you guys like the send off that they gave her? What did you think about the send off from the?
I thought that it
the best they could, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. It could only have probably gone down that way because that's the footage that they had. Mm-hmm. I think this movie would be infinitely better with Carrie Fisher actually in it, recording lines. Because they could act off of each other. You could tell they were.
She was just dealing with us.
Right? So, it would help, but I thought it was done. I thought it was done pretty well. I did. And again, that's the thing about Star Wars, right? It's like no one's ever really gone, right? Like you
damn straight.
You can always speak to the Force. So
I think I don't like the final act of Rise of Skywalker. The first part felt a little rushed, but on the second, third viewing,
I mean, the movie definitely found its footing. In like this, right as soon as they went to the sand planet and they started establishing that whole thing.
So here's the question I would ask you: define where you think the movie went off the rails. You say the third act. Where does the third act begin for you?
For me, after she heals Kylo and she goes.
After she leaves to go to the palace.
From there, to me, it was kind of all over the place. With
that's true.
Because then a lot of things, just so many things happen.
A lot happened.
happened.
That's the problem. It's like you gotta stick the landings. You're just asking us to go with every move and make you're doing, but you're cutting so fast that whenever you make a big decision, I don't have time to ponder on it or get used to it because you're just flying me to this next part of the galaxy where we're doing a whole different narrative. You know. So yeah, that's that's that. All right, guys. Now we're gonna delve into some specific concepts here. We kind of gave a basic overview of how we feel about the movie. Now we want to talk about certain characters that I guess the most important characters are the ones that we felt the most excited to talk about. So we're going to go ahead and start here with Finn. We want to get an idea of how we feel about him now that we've seen 3 movies of John Boyega. All right, Justin, shoot.
Listen, I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you guys out there. I truly believe that Finn is the most wasted character in this entire trilogy.
Oh, for sure.
It is not a character of Finn to me. When we began this story, I truly believe it was the main character.
I did too.
So that trailer when he had the lightsaber.
To watch how his character has not been utilized has bothered me truly throughout this whole thing. So I think. Again, to answer the obvious Finn question, what is the thing you think that he was going to give to Rey?
I think he was going to tell her that he was force sensitive.
I agree with that 100%.
I fundamentally disagree with that, even though even though we know the truth via J.J. Abrams in press conferences. That did not feel like that's what he was getting ready to do. I thought he was definitely going on the love thing, but that's just me, and I think a lot of people also agree with me.
I think when he was saying, I feel it, Leia feels it, Rey's something we just understand since that understand maybe even hinting you.
Okay, but if you're watching that movie for the first time, you're not really feeling that way at the moment. But yes, finish your sentence.
But I thought it was both, which to me would have been the best part. It's one, hey, this is this girl who I've been with this entire time. She's doing these amazing things. I'd really like to be able to help her. And as I'm really trying to do that, I'm beginning to feel. I can feel her. I can feel Ren. I can feel danger. I can feel we need to do this. He has this.
That's all fine.
He has these moments of empathy throughout the movie.
I see it too. I understand what you're saying.
But that being said, I don't discount your point at all. Which again, we can get to when we talk about Kylo Ren or Rey. But when we talk about this Finn specifically, his character to me has so much promise throughout the entirety of the movies, and it just seems to me like it's just disregarded to pave the way for some Rey storylines or Kylo Ren storylines. Wow. And not to say that those aren't interesting characters, but it just feels like the way that it's done is forced in a way that, and this again to me, not to go back and talk about it, this kind of is the problem with the Canto Bight sequence. Fundamentally,
it all comes full circle.
but in this movie, they do it in a way that makes him a bit more useful, but does not make him critical.
Right.
And it can so easily if you consider the fact, if they lean into the fact that he's force sensitive, if that's the point of the movie, Finn is force sensitive.
It's right in front of our eyes.
If you lean into that.
Yes, if you pay attention, you can see that he's force sensitive. I totally understand what you're saying. The problem is, throughout these 3 movies, they've been dancing around the romance thing, and so you don't know what we're like. We've been watching these movies for like 5 years now, so it's like, okay, who's getting with who at this point? Okay, it's balls against the wall time, guys. Who's it gonna be? So that's why I'm saying in that moment, that was the most obvious display of that. And quite frankly, guys, if in my last moments, I mean, I don't know if I'm out here trying to get across to you that I'm force sensitive. I don't think that's the problem. I don't really care about that right now. Ray, I really cared about you. If this is my last moment, man, it was real. Not like, oh, I didn't tell you I was force sensitive, by the way, did you know? Like, who cares?
I agree with you on that as well, but I feel like it was a culmination from the first movie, from The Force Awakens, when he picks up the lightsaber. He's kind of doing his thing against Kylo, which makes no sense. Kylo should have shot him for the first 2 seconds.
Yeah.
That's it.
But I guess he was force sensitive the whole time?